Joel Quenneville is back in the NHL. The IceHogs hit a road bump versus Milwaukee, and there's one name that's been mocked to the Blackhawks twice already. We'll talk about it all next on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. Happy Thursday. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. I'm Jay Zawoski with Mario Tirabassi. Joey's here running the show for us today. We've got a big one with lots to get to. We've got Joel Quenneville back in the NHL. The IceHogs lose. What? That's not supposed to happen. And there's one name that keeps coming up in the mock drafts. Chris Peters and Scott Wheeler all seem to think one guy's coming here. We'll talk about it coming up on the show. We're going to start with the Joel Quenneville hire. We promise this will not be the whole show. We are challenging you in the chat to be normal, and if you're not, we will kick you out. In the meantime, hit that like button for us. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page, and if you're checking up on the old podcast, make sure you're following or subscribed on your favorite podcast app. All right, the inevitable has happened. We all knew this was coming. Eventually, Joel Quenneville has been named the head coach of the Anaheim Ducks. Quote here from Q in the press release. He says, quote, "In nearly 4 years away from the game, I have learned from my prior mistakes and realized it will be actions over words that demonstrate my commitment to being a better leader." That is Joel Quenneville, obviously commenting on the Brad Aldrich scandal, which he had to do. We heard from him last year when he was on the Cam and Strick podcast. Mm-hmm. Was that during it doesn't matter. And that was kind of the last we'd heard from him for a while. And that interview was kind of met with mixed reviews where he said the right things, but when kind of pressed on them, it didn't feel quite as sincere as maybe it should have.
Yeah. I mean, I think this was like you said, like it just kind of felt like, given the way things were handled, post that investigation being concluded and everything, it wasn't definitive, lifetime bans or anything like that for him, for Stan Bowman, anything, for those two specifically. And given their resumes, and given how the NHL historically has operated in these instances, there are ways back. Stan Bowman is a GM again, and now Joel Quenneville is a coach again. I'm hopeful that the Ducks, through their process, truly did the right things that they're supposed to do and go a little bit more than that. Go the extra mile to actually, vet out what Quenneville has been doing. And by all accounts, and people that have worked with him, people that worked with Stan Bowman in their trainings and trying to, learn from what happened in 2010. It seems like the accounts are that those guys have put in that work, have been remorseful, and it's, to some people, it may not ever satisfy what they felt should have been the ban, that or the punishment that those guys received for their involvements. And for some, it's enough, and for the NHL, it seems like it was enough. And the Ducks are said to have had a wide-reaching coaching search, and it really felt like as soon as they fired Greg Cronin, Joel Quenneville was their first person they called the only guy that I think we know that had a second interview.
Yep.
And through their wide-reaching coaching search, had to have the guy who was coming with baggage, 4 years out of the game. His resume speaks for itself as a hockey coach, of course.
Yeah.
But it is, for a young team, a guy who historically hated prospects.
Well, he's going to have to figure it out because he's back in now. And
so it's a very interesting connection. I know Pat Verbeek and him played together before many years ago, but we're back at this spot. So I'm hopeful that the diligence was done as deep as it could have been, and not just, well, the NHL reinstated him, so the Ducks' hands are clean of doing anything
I think
like
the
that.
Ducks did it. I think the Ducks did what they needed to do to justify the hire. Oh yeah, we definitely we talked to many people that told us exactly what we wanted to hear, so we could hire Joel Quenneville. Look, I believe in second chances. I am a much different person than I was at 18 or 21 or 23 or 40 or 45. Like, everyone evolves through time. However, I think an NHL head coaching job is a very special privilege, and you are the leader of men, young men, older men, whatever it might be, but there are going to be teenage boys, let's be honest, playing for the Anaheim Ducks under Joel Quenneville's leadership. And I remember, after all this came to light, Wayne Gretzky went on the air and said, I would have reservations about my son playing for the Blackhawks. Mm-hmm. What he was referring to was the Brad Aldrich scandal and how that was handled, and how the leadership in charge, all of it, failed the players that were abused. I don't want to bring their names into it. We know one of their names. Mm-hmm. I don't want that to become that person's identity, so we're going to stick to calling it the Brad Aldrich scandal, which that's what it is. You didn't have to do this. There are other candidates available. It is just hockey. It's just a game. He's not in prison. He's not being restricted from making money elsewhere. He's made generational wealth. I just feel that this did not have to be done. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't know. And again, I'm all for second chances, but I think there's a limit to that where, yeah, sure. Like, if this was a college professor, right? Dealing with children ages 18 to 22. If a college professor had done this at Harvard, would Yale go and hire the guy 4 years later? Probably not. Probably not. So, look, there's no doubt Joel Quenneville was an outstanding coach, one of the greatest of all times. Who knows how the game has passed him by in 4 years? We're going to find out. I think this makes the Anaheim Ducks better. I think that's what the Anaheim Ducks are trying to do, get better. And they're twisting themselves in pretzel knots saying, yep, we've done our diligence and we're happy. And look, maybe Q has had his eyes completely opened, and I hope he has. And I'm not dismissing that possibility. It just, I don't know. I think about not just the victims of Brad Aldrich. I think of any victim of sexual abuse, any victim of any sort of abuse from a leader, be it a teacher, a camp counselor, a member of the clergy, a friend, a neighbor, an aunt, an uncle, whatever it might be. And every time something like this happens, it has to feel like a kick to the gut every single time, because you get more of a protest when, an inexperienced coach is hired, or a coach that didn't have success was hired, versus a guy who helped cover up a sexual assault. Right. There'd be more outrage, I guarantee you, if the Blackhawks hired Peter Laviolette than if they hired Joel Quenneville back. There'd be more outrage about that. Oh, he's a retread. This is terrible. Kyle Davidson should be fired. If it was Joel Quenneville, there'd be a good percentage of people celebrating that today if he was back in Chicago. And it just frustrates me. And maybe it's just the freshness of it and that it's happening today, and it just has seemed inevitable for so long. But just remember, when you're cheering on your team and you're excited about this coach that you really liked as a coach of the Blackhawks, which we all did. He did a great job, 3 championships. People's lives were impacted forever. Forever. Wins and losses, points on the standings, all great. We all really enjoyed that time. Without that, the two of us are probably not doing this show right now. the Dynasty Blackhawks have a lot to do with the success of our careers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. But people's lives were affected here, and that can't be forgotten.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that is going to follow him, as it will anyone that was involved in that. We talk about the players on those teams. You talk about Stan Bowman. You talk about John McDonough and all the people that were involved with that team and involved in that situation. And it's something that follows them. And it's not just a Chicago thing. I mean, it's there's people around the league. This was that was one of the biggest things to hit hockey in a very, very long time. And it's centered around a team that was a darling of that era of the 2010s, and iconic players and an iconic coach. So it's something that will continue to follow him. There's people around the league. There's people who are Ducks fans that are reacting negatively to it, and it's something that had to be a consideration in the coaching search. It's hockey decisions are made for hockey reasons, but there is a business side of things. There is a fan reaction side of things. There's a perception side of things that teams consider, and to a degree. But for the Ducks, it just they felt that whatever came along with hiring Joel Quenneville was something that they could handle, or it just didn't matter enough to not go that direction, which is their choice. But yeah, I agree. It's just like it's this being the hire when we talk about Blackhawks coaching situation and the endless amount of names that you can think of to be like, this could be a good fit. This guy, this person could be a good coach. They're looking for an opportunity. They're coming from one situation, whatever it is. And for it to be, the oldest guy that is available. And again, to be involved in this, it just kind of feels like, it was always from the Ducks standpoint going to be Quenneville. And, they talked to Jay Woodcroft, they talked to David Carr, and it still came down to, well, we really want Quenneville. So they really wanted him. They've got him now. And it feels gross, but that is that's what the Ducks have gone with.
Yep.
So
before we wrap this up, we have a statement from John Doe, aka Black Ace #1's
the other side of it,
lawyers at Romanucci and Blandine.
There's still a legal process going on with this whole thing.
So we are deeply troubled to hear about the hiring of Coach Q by another NHL team this week, despite his complicity in the Blackhawks clubhouse regarding sexual abuse of a player and now active litigation about sexual abuse of another player by a staff member. The leadership expected of a head coach and a decency expected as a human being should have guided him to protect these players at all costs. We hope and expect his new team will hold him and the entire management team to the highest standards of conduct and not sacrifice player well-being for winning. Again, that's a statement by the law firm of Romanucci and Blandine, who represent John Doe, a.k.a. Black Ace #1. So there you have it. I mean, it was a matter of time. It's happened. Joel Quenneville's here. Let's hope that if something like this happens in Anaheim, Joel Quenneville uses his power, uses his platform, uses his voice to stand up for what's right, aggressively, vocally, publicly, and show it. Show us that you've taken the steps instead of just saying it. And that's what he said in his statement. Actions speak louder than words. So let's see the actions. There you have it. All right, we'll be back with some hockey conversation coming up next on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
And if you need to unwind, why not head over to Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase from a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. It is a sunny beautiful day.
It is
Sure,
nice.
Dart guy is out hanging out. I wonder if he went to Sunnyside earlier today and is enjoying the beautiful weather we are having here in Chicago. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary, with locations in the city like in Wrigleyville and River North, and out in the suburbs such as Champaign and South Beloit, and more locations. If you're starting out with Sunnyside, they have expert guidance and brands that you'll come to know and love, like Good News and Mindy's. And if you're a pro, they've got you covered with over 100 strains to choose from, and new ones added every day, expertly curated, like their Wellness Advisors Staff Picks collection, and more. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off of your first 3 online purchases when you use the code HICHGO. That's HICHGO. Use that code at checkout to qualify. Exclusions do apply. Again, go to sunnyside.shop. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for those 21 and older, and or Illinois medical card holders.
And you can level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/CHGO and use the promo code CHGO2025 to get 20% off your first order. They've got a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Lots of different flavors, lots of different strengths. They got the 4 milligram, the 8 milligram. I see the mango, berry citrus, apple ice, mint, apple cider, wintergreen, espresso, cinnamon. Tons of choices, tons of strengths available for you at lucy.co. So head over there, use the code CHGO2025 to get 20% off. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine, and nicotine is an addictive chemical. All right, you were in Rockford last night.
It was.
Not quite the fun adventures we've had so far in the Calder Cup playoffs.
No, not as fun.
How were the vibes after the game?
After the game, there was some disappointment. Obviously, you have a scenario where you can clinch a series at home in 3-game sweep fashion and in a best of 5 setup, especially against a team like Milwaukee that is, you face them 10 times, sometimes 12 times a year. You get to really just get after those guys, and it was a physical game, and contrary to what happened in games 1 and 2, where the IceHogs were really able to stifle the Admirals through the neutral zone and slow down their offensive attack, the Admirals, they were able to do whatever they wanted in last night's game, and it was tough for the IceHogs to climb out of a 3-0 deficit in the first period, and then from there, you're chasing the game, you're kind of cheating for offense a bit, and then you get into the extracurriculars and the physicality and stuff, and it was just tough for the IceHogs to get themselves back into the game. Kevin Korchinski had an adventure of a game. Nolan Allen was taking some bad penalties. The officiating, I hate to be a blame the officials guy. The officiating was poor, and it was, I'd say, for it impacted both sides, but for the IceHogs, anytime that they got some momentum going, there was a penalty going against them. There was some shenanigans where an Admirals player got their stick in Brett Seeney's skate between the boot and the blade.
Yeah.
And Seeney's trying to get up and get it, and Admirals are going the other way on a 3-on-2. Seeney's trying to get up and get the stick out, and then the Admirals player grabs the stick and is pulling Brett Seeney with him with the stick, and the ref's just like, get
it's
up.
It's the playoffs.
And
we swallow the whistle.
It was just one of the weirder sequences that I've ever seen, where they didn't call anything. They didn't stop the play until the puck was stopped on the other side, and then Seeney gets up, and he's still he's trying to skate away with the stick in his skate, and he's stomping on the skate to try and break it, and then the Admirals are like, "Hey, don't break my skate," and they start pushing him, and then a melee ensues, and then Kevin Korchinski's going over to find out what's going on. He gets sucker punched.
Yeah,
and then he gets a penalty for getting sucker punched. And then it was just, there were just some odd situations in the game. It was a very typical blowout AHL playoff game where basically midway through the third period, it was just like, all right, who can I bean? And
time to punch everybody.
Artem Levshinov beaned Ryder Rolston, former IceHog.
Friend of the show.
Former friend of the show. And again, another melee ensued. Korchinski got kicked out of the game. Drew Comezzo got pulled between the second and third periods. Wasn't all his fault. Some of the goals that were given up were from, there was a tic-tac-toe play that the Admirals pulled off in the first period. Shots through screens. Like, I'm not laying all 5 goals that he gave up at his feet, but, at least 2 or 3 you'd like to make a save on. So he's been on a great run. So I fully assume he's going to be in net for Game 4 tomorrow night. And that's the thing is, like, the IceHogs are still up in the series. You're up 2-1. You have a home game tomorrow night to regroup. First time that this team is facing adversity in the postseason. They had won the 4 games prior. It's a young team. They've got some veterans that are there that can help them kind of in these scenarios, and just go into it with a fresh mindset. You got the OT winner in Game 1. You put 6 on the Admirals in Game 2 and a 6-1 win. They put 6 on you in Game 3. You still have the upper hand. You still have the advantage. So go out and get it done.
Yeah, you're in good shape regardless. It feels like every playoff series, NHL, AHL, whatever, there's one game that gets out of hand. Yeah. And it just does become complete chaos until the final horn blows, and you just kind of crumble it up and throw it away. And I think that's kind of a way for the team that's getting their ass kicked to be like, all right, well, we're not going to come back from this, so we're going to remind you that we're still here. We're not giving up. We're probably not going to be able to pump in 4 goals to tie this thing right now. Yeah, but we're going to be able to punch you repeatedly to remind you that the next game will not be like this.
Yeah, that's the pushback that you want to see, especially from a young group. A lot of these guys, this is their first postseason action at the professional ranks, so you want them to be able to show that, because if you get pushed around, then that's the message that the other team is seeing. It's like, oh, we're going to push these guys around. And with the Admirals, like, they are a more, I know you and Greg kind of talked about it on Tuesday's show, like the Admirals are set up to be more of a like good AHL team where they're more veteran laden. They're not as top prospect heavy. It's more like guys that have been around the block. Like they got Cal O'Reilly on that team, who's 17 years in the AHL.
Yeah, right.
They're more set up that way. So with this young group that the IceHogs have, you want to have them show that pushback, and I think they did. Jalen Lipin got kicked out of the game late in the game too. Samuel Savoie had a goal in the third period. He was throwing his body around. So I expect Friday night's game in Rockford to be a good atmosphere. Looks like they're going to do the whiteout. They did a red out last night. Didn't work, so now they're going to try the whiteout.
Ball that one up.
But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully they get it done, and then I believe I got to look it up. I think if they were to win either tomorrow night or Sunday in Milwaukee, if it goes to Game 5, I think they are on pace to play the Texas Stars in the next round.
As long as Mikko Rantanen isn't on the Texas Stars too, they should be fine.
I don't think he is. No, Texas Stars, they're up 2-0 in their series against Grand Rapids, but it's not over yet. So we'll see. But if they can get it done, they'll be into the second round of the Calder Cup playoffs for the first time since 2018.
That would be great. And look, they control it, right? They got to win one more. They're at home Friday. It sets up nicely for them. So let's hope they take advantage of that home ice, and because you don't want to go back to Milwaukee for Game 5, especially against, like we're saying, a team that is veteran laden, very experienced. If they get the IceHogs to Game 5, it's going to be a tough match.
Right. And winning games 1 and 2 in Milwaukee was surprising because the Admirals were one of the best home teams in the AHL all season. So it was huge for the IceHogs to get games 1 and 2 on both of them on the road to be able to control your destiny in the series with 2 home games. So don't go back to Milwaukee. Get it done tomorrow night. That would be the best thing for them. Interesting stat that I saw last night from Patrick Williams, longtime AHL correspondent he said, there's some roster turnover, as there always is in the AHL, but through the last 2 postseasons, and now this one including, where the Milwaukee Admirals have reached the Western Conference Finals, they have won 9 games when facing elimination, which is impressive.
That's impressive, yes.
So they're a team that, their coaching staff, a number of their veteran players, they've been in those positions before, and they've come out on top. So the IceHogs tomorrow night really have an opportunity to put their foot down, end the series, don't let it get to a Game 5, and move on.
Well, it's good to see, too, that when things started getting out of hand, there was a response. And guys stood up for each other, and that, doesn't mean anything in the long run, maybe not, but you want guys supporting each other. You want guys standing up for each other. And as much as we can go through stats and metrics and say, did this fight mean anything in the result of the game? It matters in the locker room. And when guys are sticking up for each other and fighting for each other, it matters to the players. It matters to the coaches. Therefore, it matters. So let's hope they get it done. It's, talent versus experience. It's funny how, and Chris Peters mentioned this the other day, how when we were talking about how Levshinov sort of looked better in the NHL than the AHL, sometimes the grindiness of the game benefits the more AHL-y teams as opposed to like the top prospect kind of teams. And someone in the chat said, put in Marcel and Tage Harding to beef up for this game. I don't know if you're doing anything that drastic. You've got a 2-1 lead in the series. You swept through the first round of the series of the playoffs or the play-in round, whatever. I wouldn't change much. I think changing something drastic sort of sends a message of panic a little bit to the team. Mm-hmm. So I just want to see them go about it the way they did. Comesso starts, same lineup, same guys, assuming health, of course.
Right.
And just take it to them, man. Play with that confidence they've been playing with through these, these first 4 of the first 5 playoff games, and they'll be in good shape. So.
I think a big thing that we'll have to keep an eye on through the rest of the day is Levshinov, because it wasn't a legal check to the head with Rolston.
Yeah,
is if he's going to be suspended. He got suspended earlier this year for, I forget who he did it against, but 2-handed a guy in the throat. So he's got the repeat offender labeled on him, even though that was more.
That was a glancing blow.
I think that was. I don't think he meant to get him right in the throat, but he did. So we'll see what happens with that. I know, as we'll seen in the Stanley Cup playoffs before, if you're going to suspend a guy, it kind of means double. So if in the regular season, if it would be a 2-game suspension, that means 1 game in the playoffs, all that stuff. We'll see what happens. I don't know if any supplemental discipline is coming back from it, because he did get the penalty called on the actual hit. It was a big one, so we'll see what happens. If he's out, that's a significant loss for the IceHogs for what would be Game 4.
All right, that was us taking the temp of the Rockford IceHogs, and taking the temp is brought to you by our friends at 4 Seasons Heating, your trusted local experts. Our 4 Seasons Heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electric. Visit 4seasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's 4seasonsheatingcooling.com. We're going to come back with some mock draft news, and we're going to get in the NHL playoffs a little bit before we wrap up the show as well. Do us a favor, if you've not done it yet, hit that like button for us, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube page. Back in 2 minutes on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.
And it is getting sunny out there.
Yep.
Might need some shady rays to help you battle those sunbeams going directly into your eyeballs. Our friends at Shady Rays are here to help you get in the right frame of mind with their premium polarized sunglasses that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their sunglasses have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all your outdoor adventures. And with so many colors available, you might find the perfect pair for you, as I burp, in your teams, your favorite teams' colors as well. So it's orange and blue, red and blue, black and red.
The Pope's got all those.
I'm sure Shady Rays is sending over a box of sunglasses to the new Chicago Pope out there in the Vatican.
Chicago Bob.
If your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, you don't have to worry about it. Shady Rays has the most insane protection plan in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by their lost or broken replacement program. And for our CHGO viewers and listeners, you can go to ShadyRays.com right now and save 35% off of their polarized sunglasses with the code CHGO. Again, go to ShadyRays.com, use the code CHGO, get 35% off of their sunglasses, and see why over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars.
And whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. Chicago Sports. With Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. That is a muscle memory. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. Bet on all your favorite Chicago teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, or in-game. Circa Sports has it. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. March Madness is come and gone. But the NHL playoffs are here. The NBA playoffs are here. March Madness is coming next March. That is a fact.
Yeah,
I can confirm it will be back.
Yes, the copy is technically correct that March Madness is coming. So who are you? But I'm still going Kansas. I don't know. Download your new bookie today at circusports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And before we get to the mock drafts, today, with the Chicago Pope, is back to the glory days of Twitter.
It is an all-time Chicago day on Twitter.
Yes, with the meme sharing.
It's so good.
And the as a Southside Catholic, and with 17 aunts and uncles on both sides.
Your group chat's blowing up.
It is blowing up with Pope memes. We've got the Pope leaving Brewbakers on Western, which leaving Brewbakers is always a great idea. I have a Chicago dog with the papal hat on. Got him in Bears gear. It has been a top-notch day on Twitter for Chicago Pope memes. And I found out today that the new Pope's brother lived or lives like a block from my house.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, I might have to knock.
Yeah, might go.
Let's get him on the show. Get his thoughts on it. Let's get a mock draft from the Pope.
Hey, he might have some thoughts on it.
If they don't take Misa, Davidson's got to be fired immediately.
I think he sounds exactly like that, too.
He does.
Yeah, I was going to say all week long, it's just going to be like, I know a guy who helped move some mulch for the Pope's cousin.
Oh, that's good stuff. I can't wait for Malort to replace the wine at church services. I think that's coming. And then, all the Eucharists are going to be Vienna beef hot dogs.
Baptized in au jus.
Little mini Vienna beefs.
Yeah.
You know what? If you want to get people to church,
that would get me every
start
Sunday.
Serving some little mini Italian beefs, or just mix it up.
100-inch flat screen TV playing all of our sports too. It also
just
that'd bring me back
like a Hooters, just TVs all around the church.
Mm-hmm.
People will come.
Bears.
Pope Bob. It's gonna happen. It is cool though. Like stuff. Whether you're Catholic or not, I am a lapsed Catholic, but grew up Catholic. Kindergarten, grade school, high school, college. Yeah. I was an altar boy of the year, 1992. Thank you very much, St. Linus. That's me. It's just cool to see the process, and I don't know. It's like such an ancient ritual. It's kind of cool to observe.
I remember that. That was a deep year for altar boys. Good for you, man.
92.
Yeah, that was a deep class.
That was a deep class. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you make your jokes.
Mock draft of
St.
altar
Linus
boys.
was a great and safe place for me. So,
all right.
Yeah. Good times.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good fun stuff.
All right. Welcome, Pope Bob. We are glad you are here, my friend.
Pope Leo the 14th.
Yes. All right. So we've got 2 mock drafts. There's more, but Scott Wheeler.
There's many mock drafts.
But we got guys that matter. We got Scott Wheeler. We got Chris Peters. Mm-hmm. Both of them have the Hawks taking Anton Frondell at 3.
Interesting.
A lot of the rationale is that Misa will probably be gone, and they don't like Martone because he's not the skater that the Hawks have always seek with their draft picks. Mm-hmm. So this is from Wheeler saying if Misa's gone, Desnoyers and Frondell come into sharper focus for the Hawks. Both are 6'1", and change centers who play the game the right way. A month ago, before a disappointing showing at the U18 Worlds for the Swedes, and an excellent QMJHL playoff run for the Canadian, the consensus favored Frondell more than it does now. I still think Frondell is probably the more likely fit for the Blackhawks, but it's really close. And then Chris Peters kind of on the same thing, talking about the skating. He says there's a lot of surprising buzz around Frondell at the U18s, despite his performance at that tournament, and a lot of NHL GMs were in attendance more to see him. Talked a lot about him on our interview with Chris on Tuesday as well, so go back and check that out.
The interesting thing with Chris's mock draft is that he has the Blackhawks taking Frondell over Misa, because he's got Michael Misa going 2 picks later, I believe it is.
Yes, 5.
Which is interesting. To me, I would feel like if Michael Misa is on the board, he is the top. He's my top player in the draft, and if I'm doing my rankings, my Mario Terabasi at allchgo.com top 32 rankings, Misa's number 1 on my board. Not just the forwards. I would have him ahead of Matthew Schaefer. So if he's on the board for the Blackhawks, I would have a hard time thinking that they would pass him up. I feel like he has more to offer than Anton Frondell. But if he is off the board, as he is in Scott Wheeler's mock draft, I'm not against it. I think he is one of those guys that is a natural center. Him, Misa, Desnoyers, they fit that profile. Chris talked about how in his draft year this year, playing in the Allsvenskan League in Sweden, which is like the Swedish second tier, he outpaced William Nylander in his draft year as far as production goes. He was doing that against competition that is professional. It's against men. It's not just against his peers, other teenagers, things like that, like it would be for in the OHL or the WHL or the Q. So I'm intrigued by that. He's got the frame. He's got the style, plays with pace, fits everything that the Blackhawks are looking for. So if it is Anton Frondell, I'm not going to be mad about it. I think it's a guy that they need. He's still a guy that would be that you put him into your top 6. He can play down the middle. He's an impact guy almost right away.
I almost think the only thing that would upset me is if Misa's on the board and they pass.
That would upset me.
Because, look, we talked about this yesterday a little bit, but not everybody hears every show, even though you should hit that like button. I get that Frondell is maybe a little more well-rounded. Yes, he's had the success against men, air quotes. Misa's the more dynamic player. Misa projects to be the better scorer, and the Hawks have a lot of that two-way depth in their system. Maybe Boisvert or Spellici or whoever isn't an ideal number 2 center. And I don't like comparing to the Dynasty Hawks, but they got through kind of makeshifting their second line center year after year after year because the rest of the depth was so good.
Yeah. Because your top guy is a Hall of Famer.
They need that dude you can find to play with Bedard, to put up big points with Bedard. Mm-hmm. And unless they are getting someone this summer, be it Marner or whatever other free agent or trade piece it might be, you got to find it in the draft. And the hope would be that this year is probably the last time they're picking in the top 3 or 4, unless they get super lucky with the draft lottery. This is your best chance to add a big scorer. So if Misa's there and they don't take him, that would annoy me. But otherwise, Frondell, Martone, Desnoyers, whoever, as long as it's not a massive reach, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Hagens, fine, whatever. If you don't love any of those guys and they trade down, okay. I just,
I feel
the one that feels like a big miss would be just skipping on Misa.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that they're going to trade down unless it's to get something like in return. You're getting someone of immediate impact on your NHL roster.
Yeah, but I'm saying let's say they've got like Hagens, Frondell, Desnoyers, whatever names you want to say, like kind of ranked evenly. Mm-hmm. and they can trade down 2 spots and they kind of like them all the same and get one at 5 or 6, okay, I'm fine with that.
That's sure.
But there's no one that I'm, balls to the wall. This has to be the guy. And if they don't get this guy, it's a failure. Unless Misa's sitting there at 3 and they opt to not take him.
If Misa's on the board and he doesn't become a Blackhawk, I'm going to be upset. I might flip a table. Because I think he has everything. Like it just seems too perfect of a player to pair with Bedard down the road. Whether either one of them is center or wing, whatever it is, if Bedard becomes that top line center that you trust and you believe in, and he's going to be that guy at that position, then Misa's your number 2. That seems like a slam dunk 1-2 combination. Boisvert might be a pretty good number 2 option when it's all said and done. He might be a fantastic number 3 center. Spellacy seems like he's a great checking 4th line, third line guy that is going to be physical, can play down the middle. I just think with the desire for Martone, great power forward, size, skill, he has that. The skating, I'm okay if you're not the best skater in the class.
Yeah.
If you have the size and the skill, you can hang with it. I just wonder if the Hawks would tend more to let's get someone who is a center, because centers can move to wing a lot easier. If Martone is strictly a winger, that's fine. Lots of guys get drafted that have never played center and they do just fine in the NHL. Yeah. But I think the option of we could use a guy at center. If he pans out at center, wonderful. If not, we move to the wing and he's still an impact player. That's why I think like Hagens or Frondell or Desnoyers would have maybe the step up above Martone as well as the skating. But it still feels like if Misa's on the board, he's the guy. He has to be the guy.
It's kind of crazy to see this happen with Frondell a little bit, and with Misa. That's why Chris Peters has Misa 5th, because the postseason performance wasn't great, had a late season injury, and as we mentioned with Frondell, like the showing at the U18s wasn't great. I hate to define a guy by one way or another, by the way, by like a bad, like a small sample size success or failure.
Right.
Like you always think about these guys at the NFL draft who were not really on the radar, but they have this great combine. And like, oh man, he can jump out of a swimming pool. Who is that guy the Bears took? Joey, do you remember that jumped out of a swimming pool?
Oh, wasn't his name like?
It doesn't matter. He was awful.
Yeah.
Like, but he blew. Wow. Look at the reach. Look at the hands. Like the whole thing with Will Campbell from LSU, who's been a stud SEC offensive tackle. I don't know. His arms are a little short. Come on. Yeah. Like, stop talking yourself out of stuff. And I feel like that might be the case with Misa, with Peters, and with Frondell. And the other thing, too, and you sort of said it on the skating, it's not like Martone is Michael Roosevelt or Michael Hanzus out there, like, just skating through quicksand.
Right.
He's not Pavel Bure. He's not Oliver Moore or Frank Nazar, but he can keep up with top-line players. Todd Bertuzzi, very good career, not very fast. We talked last week about this year's slowest skaters. Matthew Tkachuk, pretty effective on that list. Like, there's a lot of guys who produce, especially the power forward types, like Martone projects to be, like Matthew Tkachuk. You don't need to have a lot of speed to go stand in front of the net, deflect pucks, and clean up the slop in front.
Right.
So, I don't know. I don't feel like there's a bad pick here. I feel like they're going to get a good player, however it goes, and there's really no outcome that's going to enrage me.
Yeah, I like we said yesterday. Like, unless it's a completely out of left field reach, quote unquote, pick, like they're one of these players that we keep coming around to, these 6 or 7 names that keep circulating. One of them will be a Blackhawk, and I think that there's going to be people that will be upset that it wasn't their guy. But no matter who your guy is in this top of this draft class, whoever the Blackhawks are taking, they're getting a top tier player, someone who's going to be that next number 1 prospect in the system. and it's unlikely to be Matthew Schaefer. So you're getting a top forward that now that Connor Bedard is established as an NHLer. Frank Nazar has established himself as an NHLer. Oliver Moore has turned pro. You look at the top of that forward class and you're like, okay, is the top prospect Oliver Moore? Is it Sasha Boisvert? Is it Nick Lardis, who likely is turning pro now going into next season? You get someone like Frondell or Misa or Martone or Desnoyers, like that is instantly your number one forward prospect. And all of those guys have the projection of top 6 productive, long, NHL careers. For some of them, it's this guy can be a top line producer.
Like Joey.
It's not a absolutely. It's not a it's not going to be a miss in any way unless the guy completely busts out, which that happens. But as that, you don't know that until 5, 6, 7 years out of the draft, what actually happens. So I think whoever it ends up being, it's going to be an impact player. And it's just interesting to see these mock drafts across start coming out, how people talk about these players, how people see their fits with different teams. It's just interesting. And it just goes to show you that like the public perception changes from person to person. Who's, a draft analyst, Craig Button had Porter Martone going number 1. Oh, okay. He might be the only person that has that. Yeah. Like, it's just the different perceptions of these guys, and it all that matters and how it will play out is how the Blackhawks scouting staff perceives them. We all wanted Ivan Demidov. I think we're all on board with Michael Misa being the top guy. The Hawks might be like, James Higgins has been our number 1 guy on our board all year. And they might get him, and they'll be like, this is the exact guy we wanted. And it's like, well, okay,
all right.
Cool.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting how it all shakes out.
All right, let's talk about the playoffs a little bit. Before we do us a favor, hit that like button for us. And thanks for hitting the thumbs down because you disagreed with us. Good stuff. Really good. We appreciate that. So hit the like button to make up for the thumbs down.
The first segment was a little wild, so yeah, that's where we got some of that from.
We're just giving our opinions, what we do. Did you see Mitch Marner's little love note to Chicago last night? You may have missed this when you were in Rockford.
I may have missed it.
Third period, Anton Frondell ties the game. 3-3.
I was keeping up with the
Panic
score.
in Toronto, right? No, guess what? 17 seconds later, Mitch Marner gives the Leafs the lead.
That's great.
Cut to Chicago Pope. Cut to July 1st, Mitch Marner, Chicago Blackhawk. Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, that's great.
17 seconds. I saw him. This cameras didn't catch this. Only my feed had it. He waited. Looked up at the scoreboard for it to hit 17. Boom. Shot the puck. And then
nice.
Sent a kiss southwest
nice.
Towards Chicago.
Nice.
See?
Well, good for him.
It's done. Done deal.
Good for
E5.
him. Yeah. Noted playoff ghost Mitch Marner, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's been fun to see the Leafs make my pick of them getting to the Cup final not look so stupid by being able to show up and take a 2-0 lead over the Panthers.
I don't want to be this guy, but I'm gonna. Because I know all of Toronto is saying it too. They look different. They look like they don't look flappable. Some would call that unflappable.
Unflappable.
I'm not ready to go that far. I feel like unflappable is stronger than they don't look flappable. Because they might still be flappable under there.
Right.
They just don't appear to be.
Yeah. Don't let them see your flap.
Always. And if they do, make sure it's got Mando on it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, look, jokes aside, Toronto Maple Leafs of old, up 1-0 in the series, late lead at home, look to going up 2 lead, and Florida ties it. Typically, that team would just and fall apart.
Toronto Maple Leafs of old would have lost that series to the Senators.
Well, that's probably true too. That's a good point.
So I think you start there in the way that they're able to, not fully poop their pants while up 3-0. And then, you're facing a team that is, Sam Bennett, being Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand. Then you have the Panthers and you throw Brad Marchand out there. They added Seth Jones, which was an upgrade for them. You have Matthew Tkachuk out there being Matthew Tkachuk. Like that is a team that is just seems like a grind of a opponent in a series. And the Leafs, they're up 2-0. Like that is an impressive start. They got to finish it, of course. And this is a Florida team that you just cannot count out because they've done it before. You got Sergei Bobrovsky still back there.
Yeah. Joseph Wall was great last night, though.
Yeah, and he's going to have to
There was a sequence in the third where he made 4 or 5 huge saves in a sequence of a minute. Looked really good.
He's going to have to come in, and I don't know the timeline on Anthony Stolarz, but it can't be short.
You wouldn't think so.
I think Joseph Woll's going to have to come in and play a savior role, really, to jump in and be the guy. That's gonna be big. So be fun to see. I hope they reach the Cup final so that my prediction doesn't look stupid. And really, like,
my Cup final's already been eliminated, so I'm not worried about it. I got the nice email from NHL.com. Your bracket's busted. Go F yourself.
Would you be interested in our second chance pool? So I mean, I think it's, for me, they look different. To completely shake it's the Leafs. They'll have to win this series, and I think if you get past the Panthers, it'd be the first time that they've won 2 rounds in a playoff stretch since the early 2000s. Did they get to the conference final in, like, off the top of my head, like 2001?
That feels about
something like
right.
that. It's been a long time, so that would probably shake that narrative off, especially with that group. But they still got to do it, so we'll see what happens. Mikko Rantanen, rather.
Good Lord,
Conn Smythe favorite right now. If the Stars are to do the whole thing, he is on a absolute tear.
Yeah, real quick though, before we move on to that, Seth Jones, noted bum.
He scored
27-11 last night for the Panthers.
A lot of minutes.
Led them in ice time by a huge
margin. He got an assist.
Yeah, so he's Paul Maurice seems to like him. Anyway, yes, back-to-back hat tricks in the playoffs for Mikko Rantanen.
Crazy.
Last time that happened, Jari Kurri did it against the Blackhawks. Thank you very much. And before that was Max Bentley for the Blackhawks. That team went on to get swept by the Canadiens in the Cup final.
Who could forget?
But a lot of Hawks history. All 3. Mikko Rantanen, former Blackhawk, for 3 seconds.
He's
technically
on the books.
Max Bentley as a Hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Back to back. I mean, it's so funny. I remember, I don't know if it was during the first round or right before it, Mark Lazarus wrote the long thing about Mikko Rantanen and what he's been through since the trade and all that, and how everyone's kind of like, I don't know about this guy.
That was earlier in the postseason.
All of a sudden, oh my God. Now you know why everyone was salivating for the chance if he was going to hit free agency.
Yeah.
He has been unreal. A huge difference maker for a team that was already really good.
Yeah.
To add Mikko Rantanen to it. And
wasn't fully healthy.
Yeah, because Robertson played last night too, came back. Scheifele came back for the Jets, so a little bit of a wash there. But, man, Rantanen is like single-handedly winning games and winning series for the Dallas Stars. And just think, like, you're already a Cup contender, and you add that guy at the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. That has got to be such a boost for that team, saying, let's effing go.
Yeah, especially after the fact that it was like, oh, well, he's already been traded. There's no way he'd be traded again, right? Well, and then it happens. Yeah, I think him with the Stars and the Stars getting back to health. You got Jake Ottinger, who's playing, pretty well. I love the matchup of Ottinger and Hellebuck because it's just like the two best American goalies going on right now, and they get to face off against each other. That's a lot of fun. The Stars, I mean, for the last few years, they've been a team that always seems to like get picked as, deep runs, cup final, cup champions, just because they're so built top to bottom to beat you in so many different ways. And the depth has been there, and now it's been challenged because of the injuries, but now you get some guys back to health, and you throw in a superstar like Mikko Rantanen. Like, it's going to be really hard for me to think that the Stars aren't going to be a team that can get to the Western Conference Final.
Yeah, it's just so deep, so strong. I just love the way they're built.
They're a blueprint,
man.
It's
and that is,
I think Davidson has said before that the Stars are, a team that you look at and say that's how you build and can sustain long-term success. Because you also look at how they've structured a lot of their young players and their contracts over the years. Like, they haven't really broken the bank for too many guys, and their young players are on some pretty sensible deals. So you do that. You don't have to, and especially with the cap going up and everything, if you're smart about it, and you can line up a really good team with depth. You don't have to reconfigure the books every year or every other year because you're spending every dollar and every cent that you have. There's a reason that Jim Nill is always in the GM of the year category, and you get a coach that's a winner, like Pete DeBoer. Was it 9-0 in Game 7s? Like, that's pretty good.
Yes,
when your back's against the wall, like, that's pretty good. Yeah, they're a team that you look at if you're the Blackhawks, and if you're Kyle Davidson, is just like, if we can mimic that, there's nothing to say that we can't also have that long stretch of success.
It's savvy trades, also building, like, not punting ever. Now they kind of are, because right now they're like as big of a cup contender as anyone.
Yeah.
So you kind of burn off some future picks now, but like they have kept reloading, with Wyatt Johnston, and then they had Logan Stankoven, who they were able to flip to get Mikko Rantanen.
Right.
Like, it's Jason Robertson's 25.
Mm-hmm.
And while Jamie Benn is aging out and Tyler Seguin, he's got 2 years left at 9.85. Who knows if he ends those with Dallas? They've got the next generation coming up ready to take over, and it just keeps refreshing on itself.
Yeah.
That's how it's done. That's rebuilding on the fly.
You invested in Ottinger. You had Miro Heiskanen was a top pick. He's been a stalwart back there for a long time. Yeah, they're set up for success.
And you have to think, too, just to swing it back to the Hawks real quick, if we could just go back in time and imagine, because this is what a lot of these teams that are able to sustain success, and even the Penguins up until the last couple of years have been able to do that because their star player is signed for a little bit less to stay there. They don't demand top market value to stay in the town they're drafted in.
Right.
Gives you a little more cap space to work with. Maybe the Hawks don't lose Teuvo Teravainen. They don't trade Philip Deneau, and they're refreshing and keeping the development coming through the system, and they're able to hang on a little bit more. But instead, it's a huge deal for Brent Seabrook that costs you more young players, and it's just cap mismanagement is such a huge part of it.
Right.
And Dallas has done a masterful job, because even if you look at Rantanen at $12 million for Mikko Rantanen starting next year, that's a bargain, man. Like,
yeah.
If we're talking 14 for Mitch Marner, potentially, with everyone bidding on him, 12 for Mikko Rantanen, yes, 100%. Beyond that, I already mentioned Seguin. Jamie Benn's contract is up after this year at 9.5. I imagine he'll go back to Dallas, but not for that much. Esa Lindell is signed for 5.25. Like, they're in great cap shape.
Mm-hmm.
Roope Hintz, 8.45. Really good asset and cap management for Dallas. So we'll see. They're going to be good for a long time.
Who do you got tonight? Hurricanes, Capitals, Game 2. Hurricanes lead 1-0.
I am the least interested in that series. I don't really know why.
Okay.
I'll go Capitals.
I say Capitals even it up. Edmonton, Vegas, Game 2. Edmonton leads 1-0.
I am now pulling for an Oilers-Leafs final. Just
guarantee the
just
Canadian
for chaos.
team can win.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will go Edmonton.
All right. I'll say Vegas in the just to have an even series, just for some fun, some parity.
Fair enough. All right, we'll be back tomorrow, 2:00. Going to try to get the Pope on the show, see if he's available.
Currently
working on it.
Yeah,
efforting now.
Yeah.
Get his thoughts on the Hawks coaching search and the upcoming draft. But if he's not available, we'll just talk Blackhawks with you. That sounds a lot of fun too.
Hold on.
All right.
The WHL is having their draft right now.
Yeah.
Their WHL prospects draft. With the 115th pick, the Medicine Hat Tigers have taken from Alexandria, Minnesota, forward Duke Lesnar. Yes, that Lesnar family. Brock Lesnar's kid is going to play in the WHL. That's crazy.
I want to see what this kid looks like.
I bet he looks like Brock Lesnar.
I don't know if I want that guy on my hockey team. That's too big.
Also, while you're pulling up his image, you guys mentioned earlier about 10 minutes ago about Seth Jones playing 27 minutes of ice time last night. So now I'm like rattling in my brain. And just a reminder to Blackhawks fans out there, in the 2015 postseason Stanley Cup playoffs, Duncan Keith averaged 31 minutes, 6 seconds. Triple overtime game, notched a 49-51 against Anaheim, 46-19. And the all-time most minutes, Nicholas Lindstrom, 2003, 71 minutes, 56 seconds of ice time.
Was that like that 4 overtime game?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's a lot of ice.
That's a guy, those two guys, Nick Lidstrom and Duncan Keith, if necessary, could play a whole game. I fully believe that. That's what intermissions are for. Suck it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow at 2. Hit that like button on your way out. We'll talk to you then on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.